Hello! Welcome to A VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony. This show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step on. Today, we are going to talk about how to get started as a voiceover artist in today's world. I'm really excited about this topic. I don't talk about it as much as I used to, but I think after 10 years doing this and everything that we've built and all the people we've helped, that it's a good idea to talk to the people who are brand new and who are just coming in and give some advice on how to get started in the voiceover industry. So I'm gonna talk about that today, and I think it's going to be super helpful. All right, let's do it. This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica. Great, welcome back. It is, we're doing episode 298. I keep saying we're like there's someone else over here. There really isn't. It's just me. I don't have a production team. I feel like I should, but I don't. I'm the production team, which leads me to the first part, just diving right into this, how to get started as a voice actor, right? Leads me to the first part of that is, when you're first starting, it is perfectly okay. In fact, I recommend it, right? To learn as much as you can about your audio, how to not just how to record in your acting, but also how to edit, how to master your files, really dive into learning your DAW, whatever you decide to use. Okay. I mean, I think, we are kind of a one-person band. Now, down the road, it does help to have a team. So like for me at A VO Journey Academy and Academy Voices, I have a team. I've got 10, 15 people who help me. I could not do it. I actually added another person. I could not do it alone because that's a lot going on there. But my own personal stuff, right, and everything I've built from my own side has been all me. So let's go ahead and dive into how to get started. And this is, I think, very relevant. I was working with a voice actor yesterday, and she was just beginning. And also, you might be a voice actor who has been doing this for a long time, but you got out of it and you're looking to get back into it. I spoke to another person the other day who was doing the same thing. They've been doing it for years, 20 plus years, but they had been out of it for a few years and they're trying to get back into it and set up their own space and everything. So, this is a very relevant thing. All right. So, of course, let's lay this out. From beginning to getting yourself that first job. Okay. So of course, the very first thing that you have to do is you've got to find a space in your house to record. Okay. This space. Now remember, a space you want to try to find is where it is quiet, but the size of the space doesn't matter. It can be a big space. It can be a room. It can be a closet. You can build a hobo fort, is what I did when I first started, which I took PVC pipes, some of those L brackets, you know what I mean? I cut them and fitted them together, and then I got packing blankets and draped them over the top, and I got plastic clamps. Then I would every night I would put that thing up and bring it back down because we had a very small house back then, and it took up like the office space, but the office space like led directly into the kitchen, and there was no doors. So it took up the whole room because it wasn't a very big house. There's only about 6 rooms in the whole house. Anyways, so, first you've got to find yourself a space. Now, the size of the space only matters in that it matters how much you can treat it. Okay. So closets are very they're very popular because it's a smaller space. They typically have clothes, which act as amazing acoustical treatment products, if you will, or like you see foam. A lot of people have that they purchase from Amazon or something like that. I have foam. But clothes, that works the best. Clothes, blankets, pillows, and most everybody has those. I mean, when I first started, I use blankets, but I use clothes, I use pillows. My wife is like a blanket hoarder, so we have tons of blankets everywhere, blankets stashed away, so like that was something, and they're very inexpensive. Like you can go to a thrift store, you can go find things that work as great treatment. So closets work great. You can get yourself a little table, little chair. You can use, if use a laptop, and you can have your first booth. Or you could do what I did, which is I had a desk with a computer on it, so I got PVC pipe and measured and shaped it around the desk, and that's how I built my hobo fort, was just to fit around my desk. And I think I made it like 6'8", 6'9". I'm not very tall, so like that was more than tall enough. Yeah, I mean, you can do it that way. Now you can use a room. I've worked with many people who use their bedroom or whatever. I actually later on, right before I had moved from that house to another house, I had made a kind of a hobo fort / walk-in for the corner up in my bedroom, because I was tired of taking the thing, putting it up and taking it down every single night. And my wife didn't mind my working in there, which was wonderful. So I was able to put it like in the corner of my room. Do you know what I mean? Up against the corner of a wall. It just happened to my room fit that way. And it was only about literally 3 by 3, just fit around. And I made a little, I got a little table, I made it work, that was small enough, and chair that could fit in it. Anyways, the point is you have to find a space, and it needs to have acoustical treatment so that when you speak, you don't have a lot of bounce coming off of the walls. Okay. That's a very important part of the process. Now, the right equipment to use, some people start with a USB mic. I don't recommend it. I did, because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. If you do have a USB mic and that's where you are right now, that's fine. But what you want to do is you want to start with an XLR mic. Most people start with the Focusrite. This is a interface. So if you start with an XLR mic, you need your computer. Then you need an interface, and you need a microphone and an XLR cord. And basically that XLR cord will plug into the microphone, which will then go to your interface. And then from your interface, there is usually either it's a USB plug or it's a Thunderbolt or something that plugs into your computer. And that basically takes the analog signal that's coming from your microphone and turns it into a digital signal for your computer to read, which then you use a DAW, which we call a digital audio workspace or workstation. And that's what we call things like Audacity, Adobe Audition, you have Studio One, Reaper, Pro Tools. You have all these different programs. There's lots of software. I personally use Adobe Audition because I think it is by far the most easiest one to learn and use. And most people will agree with that. However, most people, the problem with Adobe Audition that people have is that it does come with a monthly subscription fee. So that is a part of why people will stick to they'll try something else, which is totally fine. It's really up to you what workstation you use, but definitely use one that, you can learn on. Audacity is free, and that's okay. But at some point, you're going to want to move on from Audacity. I don't recommend you stay on that very long, but some people love it and some people use it. So it's a personal preference, but I use Adobe Audition. But anyways, that's how your setup goes. You'll have a microphone and some sort of mic stand, and usually a pop filter. A pop filter is basically a wire mesh or a nylon mesh of some kind that attaches to the stand or your microphone, and you put it between your mouth and your microphone, and it eliminates what we call pops. These are plosives that come from P's and T's and things where we have hard consonants that blow air, that come out. We blow air in order to say them, and it can cause a popping sound in your audio. And that's what a pop filter does. It eliminates that. So anyways, again, these are all simple things you can type in: pop filter, POP filter, get what you need. Microphone. Now most people, and I do recommend the I had started out, like I said, with a USB microphone, but I quickly moved to a different microphone, and I took a huge jump. Okay. And that was that I spent a lot of money early on, and I went to a Sennheiser 416. Now that's $1,000 microphone. And yeah, I didn't tell my wife. She would have killed me at the time because Lord knows I wasn't making any money. But I was like, I'm really serious about this, and I'm going to get so I got that mic. I had to put it on a credit card, and that's what I got, you know what I mean? And so, but that's $1,000 microphone. The other mics though that are typical, right? You have the ATT or the what is it? The AT 2020, Audio Technica 2020. Now I had started though in between the USB mic, which I'd gotten the blue snowball mic. It looks literally like a ball. I went to the Rode NT1A. Now, this microphone is a large diaphragm microphone. It's a condenser microphone. You want a condenser microphone. If you do have trouble with noise in your space, then yes, you're going to want a dynamic microphone. They make some good dynamic microphones, like everybody knows the SMB or the Shure, the SM7B, excuse me, which is a podcasting microphone, but it's fantastic. Or the one I use for my videos is the RE20 Electra. So that's again a very old but very well-known radio type of mic. They're Hardy mics. Basically, they don't pick up as much as a condenser microphone, but they eliminate a lot of background noise because you have to get closer to the mic to speak. It's kind of like the old mic, the old Shure microphone that you used to see on a stage with like that silver ball. That's the same thing, right? You could be like, how are they using on a stage where it's so loud from the musicians? That's why they're built, right? That's why dynamic microphones are built that way. But anyway, so I got the Rode NT1A, and honestly, it was so bright. So that's why I went back to the Rode NT1. So my recommendation is when you're first starting out is get the Rode NT1. Okay, it's a great mic to start with. It's affordable, I think. Rode, RODE. And you'll need an XLR cable. Usually will, prompt you to get one of those if you get it off of Amazon or something. And then from there, you'll need your interface. Now, a lot of people start with the Focusrite Solo or Focusrite 2i2. I will be honest with you, I recommend the 2i2. It's just always had a better, I don't know, I felt like it's had a better amp in it. Right? A better preamp, in it. And I think it has a little better than the Solo, because some people do find that the Focusrite Solo is sometimes it's very gain heavy, meaning like you got to turn up the gain in order to hear your microphone a lot, and that can cause internal noise coming from your interface. So I do recommend that you use something like the 2i2, but that's a great place to start for your interface. That interface will come with everything you need to plug into your computer. And then from there, you will have you'll need your software, your workstation, your DAW. And that's what I recommend. I recommend Adobe Audition. I just love it. I love it. I used it for 10 plus years now, and I never want to use anything else. But again, some people use Audacity, some people use Reaper, some people use Pro Tools. It's really up to you. But I love Adobe Audition. Now, computer-wise, I am a big Apple Mac person, especially for this. I love PC for gaming. I have a PC. I have a gaming laptop that's PC-based, but that's Windows-based, but I use Apple. I use Mac for all of my recording because it just works better. The software, all the software, the plug, everything just seems to work better with Macs. I don't know why. I think it's just the way it's designed, and the software usually, for videography, voice, all the things that we do just works better, it seems. So, but again, if you're a PC lover, that's fine. You can use whatever you want, but I recommend Macs. I would also recommend, if you can, start with what you have, of course, but down the road, you're going to want a bigger screen than a laptop screen, because you'll have things up, you'll have scripts up. on your screen. You'll have your DAW up on your screen. You have all these things up on your screen. So a big screen is really good. Like I have a couple of 32-inch screens. Now, if you're just starting out, you're not going to have that space. You might be like, all I got is a laptop. That's fine. Use the laptop. That works as well. You know, you can have a MacBook Pro, whatever. But or maybe you have a PC, laptop or whatever. But use what you've got, of course. But I would recommend you move towards down the road. You want to get a Mac. And also, I've gone to the Mac Mini because it's way more affordable, and for it's a lot more bang for your buck. And I got like the Mac Mini Pro. And so then you just need to have your own computer screen, right, with that. So, but it's way more, it's like.
Is your podcast driving real results, or does it feel like a lot of effort with very little return? If you're a podcaster using your show to grow your business, then Podcasting Amplified is the podcast for you. You may have launched expecting listeners to flock in, but instead you're stuck on a handful of downloads while juggling recording, editing, promotion, and wondering what's missing. Well, Podcasting Amplified delivers no-fluff episodes packed with real-world tips and strategies on positioning, recording, growth, and turning your podcast into something that actually supports your goals. So search Podcasting Amplified on your favourite podcast app today and start building a podcast that gets results.
Half the price of an iMac. So it's very affordable. All right. So anyways, we've got that whole setup, and you're going to be in a space where you need to record. All right. So your job then is to get good at recording, meaning that you can record a file, you can save it, you can edit it, you can clean it up, and it is a professional sounding file that you can deliver to someone and that they would pay for, and they wouldn't be like, we need you to redo this. So how do you know if you can do that? Well, it goes a little beyond what I can teach over a podcast. But like, for example, Video Journey Academy, we have courses on that, and there's tons of stuff on the internet. I learned from Mike, is his name Mike Ross? Yeah, I think he's again, that's Adobe Audition, because that's how I learned from him. And then I just kind of, over the years and all the work I've done and do all my stuff, I've just gotten better at it. But that's how I learned myself, was watching YouTube videos on how to edit and master my work. And then from there, once you're there, it's the beginning of setting ourselves up for marketing ourselves, right? Getting ourselves out into the world. And this then becomes your full-time job, right? Is finding work. So we can find work a couple of different ways. Okay. So, and by the way, on a side note, I didn't mean to skip right over because that is a big part of this, is, getting good at, editing your work and mastering your work. But again, I can't really talk about that here. So what you want to do is either, like I said, I learned everything I needed to learn from YouTube, but you can also join a place. Like I said, I recommend you join Video Journey Academy always for help on that, and everything else. But you can learn it through watching YouTube. Okay. All right. So getting to the part where now it's time for us to get work. So the job of getting work, you're going to have a million different pieces of advice out there for what road to take, how you should do what. And, our industry is vast. There's so many opportunities for work, everything from, audiobooks to commercials to podcasts to YouTube videos to, ADR to, there's so much, right? There's so much different styles of voiceover in different categories: animation, character work, video game work. It really is endless. So, early on, you might not know where you fit in. You might be like me, where I was like, I want to do video games. I'm a character voice actor. I want to do video. I want to be the next voice on World of Warcraft or something, right? And which was me. But early on, I realized too, well, I also liked audiobooks because I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and I was willing to try anything. So I tried anything, and I got nothing except audiobooks. Now, it came to pass, right, that I realized I was I've been a teacher too for a good portion of my life. So it it kind of came more naturally for me to do nonfiction audio because of I was used to talking in that kind of authoritative style. But I crashed and burned on everything else for a long time, for years. Although I did do good early on at getting work at Halloween, scary voices, right? Because I would do kind of laughs. I do a scary laugh and do kinds of voices like that. So that helped me get work early on from that point, but it was only during Halloween. So like the rest of the time I worked really hard. I got a lot of audiobook work and I grew there. But over time I got better at doing commercial reads, deliveries. I found my money voice, the voice that I got hired for the most. I put that together. Found is the wrong word. I created it. Basically. And, it worked, and I started getting it tripled my work, but it took me years and a lot of hard work and dedication to find that and figure it out. But anyways, so at this point, right, where do we go? How do we get set up? Well, I have kind of like a 3-step part to this, right? The first part, of course, is, you're going to want to begin to look at putting together a demo, getting some sort of ability for you to share what you can do with someone. Okay, whether it's on a platform, whether it's directly, individually, or whatnot, or on a website, you've got to be able to have work, right, or samples of possible work you can do. And when you first start, you don't have any work because you've not done any, so you have to create everything from scratch, right? So remember, starting out, just like a train or something, right, it takes the most energy to start. So don't get discouraged early on because you don't have stuff, right? Like you just got to get started and know that, if you join the right communities and stuff, you're going to have a lot of support too. But, that's what you got to do when you get started. So you're looking to create demos, you're looking to create samples. You can create simple samples. Like, let's say you want to start off with audiobooks, because right now I always recommend you start off with audiobooks, because even if you don't want to do that in the future, it's a good way to give you experience with a bunch of things: working with customers, getting jobs. There's always more audiobook readily available and accessible to people than any other type of work out there in voiceover. Literally. Even for free, you can still get more paid audiobook work. All right. So, and it also helps you with editing, because you got to learn how to edit your stuff. You've got to learn how to do a deadline. You've got to work on speaking out loud, speaking a script out loud into a microphone. These were things I had to work on. And I'm so thankful that I did audiobooks early on, because it really helped me get comfortable in front of a mic and talk like I'm talking to someone or a group of people, and not talking into a mic, because that takes practice. Because when you first start, you're like, I'm talking into a mic. You're not seeing past the microphone. All right. So that's the first part. You've got to get yourself samples. You've got to record yourself demos. Should you buy a demo from someone else? I think early on, if you're just starting, absolutely not. You should not go out and spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a demo. And most places won't even accept that money from you, because they don't want, you to spend all that money and you're not ready yet. So you can create simple like samples, one-off samples. They don't even have to have background music. Again, this is with you just starting out. This isn't as we grow, because as we grow, we're going to want to build really professional, well-sounding pieces altogether. But when you're first starting, and that's another reason why I recommend audiobooks, because you don't need that big production of a demo. Okay, you just need your voice. So at this point, right, we want to start getting ourselves onto, I like to put you down a path that I did myself, that worked for me, and I've done for thousands of other voice actors. So I always start with platforms. Okay, and I like, because you can get on a bunch of platforms for free, and they market you for free. And you can put up samples, you can put up what you have, and you can put up a profile, and you can get your name out there. Make sure whatever platforms you get on, that you use the same name, so that your name becomes whatever name you want it to be, whether it's your name, a pseudonym, or a business name, it becomes recognizable. Use the same name and start to get yourself on as many platforms as you can. There's freelance platforms, there's pay-to-play platforms, and there's also intermediary platforms. So freelance platforms are platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, ACX, et cetera, et cetera. These are Voquint, although Voquint is more of an intermediary, but it's still free to join these platforms. Okay. And you usually pay on the back end, although Upwork has increased prices. So they basically give you some free credits, which they call connects every month, but it's not enough to really do anything. So you have to purchase them, but they're not very expensive. They're only like $20 or something, and a month. So, you get yourself on these platforms. You need a headshot of some kind. Listen, the headshot I've used since I started was a headshot that I took. I had my iPhone and I had it was a filter where it like created, you've probably seen it because it's on this for the podcast cover. It's my face and there's a darkened black background around me, and that was a headshot I took of me from my iPhone in my car and messing around with filters. And I was like, oh, this looks really cool. I just was screwing. I mean, I did everything. I went into like places like Walmart, because they have the like high ceilings with the rafters, and I was like looking up. I did all kinds of crazy stuff trying to get pictures because I didn't have the money to go get professional headshots. Right. And then I did that and it worked out pretty darn well, I thought. So I've used that headshot ever since to brand myself, and it works very well. So, you need some sort of picture, a headshot, something that looks professional in some way. Because remember, when people purchase from you, even though they're purchasing your voice and they'll never see your face, they'll never know your name, the people who listen to you in the end, the people who buy from you, they are going to see your face. They are going to know your name, and they're going to want to picture you in their head as you are their brand ambassador. You're the one who is either telling their story, you're the one who is, promoting their product, you're the one who is, helping their brand. So, they're going to want to see you, and they want to hire a professional. So the more professional looking you are in those pictures, the better. Whatever you do, don't get some old picture you found on your computer from 15 years ago and put that up. See, that's it. So many of us have done it. Don't do it. Okay. So, with all that said, you want to get yourself up on as many of these freelance platforms as possible. It's free to join. Intermediary platforms are platforms that they are sometimes a little harder to get on, meaning that you've got to submit your audio, and it still can be free. All right. Because I'm thinking of like Voice Jungle and stuff like that. But they've got to accept you. And then once you're on there, they send you work, and they basically deal with the client and you. So same thing with like Academy Voices. So Academy Voices is we're kind of like a pay to play. Unless you're part of VO Journey Academy, then it's free. But then we're an intermediary because, myself and our team, we work with the people in between authors or whoever, and deal with you so that you are protected and you don't have to deal with that. Like, your job is only to be the creative and to do your voiceovers. But some places like Voices123 or Voices.com, Bodoggo, these are places that are pay to plays where you deal with the customers yourself. All right. And they deal with you. And, there is no intermediary. You just pay the platform for them marketing you, and et cetera, right? So, you've got all these platforms, but you can join a lot of them for free. You don't get all of the benefits of like all the auditions, but you still get some exposure. That's why I'm always like, join as many platforms as you can. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get nothing from that platform. Join it. It's free. I'm not telling you to buy onto it and not do anything on it, but I'm saying if you can join for free, join it. Put your stuff up there. It doesn't hurt you, is what I'm saying. It only helps you. So platforms are the first thing. Next thing is you should look into after that is getting a website. Now, some people are like, should I get a website first? This is just me. Unless you are going to really push the envelope on getting a really nice looking website, I would rather you not get a website until you are ready to get a very good looking website. Like, you're going to either you can make it, you can pay someone, or it's going to look really good, because what you don't want is a poor looking website that doesn't work very well, because then it makes, again, you look like you're unprofessional. Do you see what I mean? And, it would be better for you to use a YouTube channel, because at least the UI is, everybody knows that and likes it. And it looks better, right? So, but I'm saying you should have been, after you get on these platforms, you start rolling, then you want to get up a website there are going to be people out there who tell you the very first thing you need to do is put up a website. In my humble opinion, again, it's whatever path you want to take, but I recommend waiting until you've got your stuff in a row, and then we get up your website so that we can make it look nice. Because remember, no one will ever find your website unless you give them the link to it, which means we have to direct market, because you can't do that through these websites, right? The websites, all these websites that you're on, that's their website is where they want the people to go, and you are a contractor for them. Do you know what I'm saying? So wherever you get clients on these other websites, they're not your clients, they're the website's clients. But the trade-off is that you don't have to do any of that work or pay for it or anything like that. But when you do your own website, the only way people are going to find you is if you build out that website, and through SEO, and people start, they pull up, like female voiceover and you come up, right? Or, like e-learning voice actor and you come up or something, you know what I mean? And you have to that's going down a rabbit hole of websites. Or you are direct marketing, you're emailing people, you're calling people, you're handing out business cards and stuff like that. And there is a place for that. We were talking about that today in our live show, Gabby and I. But for right now, the website comes second. So now you get your website up, you've got your demos on there, you've got your headshots on there, got your services on there that you do. You've got ways to contact you. Your portfolio is on there. Maybe you started a blog, right? You're putting out content to help people who you're trying to target, right? From there is where we start to direct market to people. And these days, it's become so much more difficult to do emailing and phone calling, meaning that it's difficult to get response. I mean, I get so bombarded. I know you do too, that it's very difficult to get leeway or to get any traction there without, doing an insane amount of work that just, when was the last time you hired someone from an email that they sent you that you didn't know who they were? Seriously, just think with yourself. When was the last time? I don't know I've ever done that. So I recommend, though, social media has become an amazing place to be. And there's a lot of opportunities there where you can participate in ways, right, that allow you to either A, create content, or B, you don't even have to create content. Because now there are so many ways with TikTok that you can just participate, and other people who are your potential clients, you can participate in the content that they're creating, right? You can go on their lives and you can talk to them and you can build relationships with them, right? And grow your clientele that way. There's so many ways to do it now online. That's the great equalizer, because it doesn't even cost you money. So, that's the last step, moving on to it. And then the last part is agents. Agents are a great opportunity to get work that you wouldn't normally be able to get. But don't forget, agents will typically only ever bring you a very small percentage of your overall work. All right, like maybe like 5% or less. And, you might not, and again, they've got a lot of other people, so you might not even book anything from your agent or agents, right? I have a couple. They do bring me unique opportunities that only go through them. But for the most part, all the work I get on my own. So at this point, you're like, all right, well, that's a lot. How do I get my first job? So I highly recommend, again, something like Academy Voices, ACX, these places where you can get started for little to nothing. Of course, I'm going to say Academy Voices because I know for a shadow of doubt, because I'm the one running it, that I know what you're going to get. You're not going to get scams, because there are some scams going on ACX. And how the scam works is basically, you do all this work and then ACX is like, we're sorry, we're pulling the book because it doesn't, they doesn't have the rights to be up. And you're like, I did all this work. What? But generally speaking, that's where I started in ACX. And, you start Academy Voices. And even if it's royalty share work, do something that's short. Don't do something that's like 10 hours long. Do something that's only a couple hours or less, and get work under your belt that way. You know what I mean? And it will grow. This is a long-term thing, by the way. This isn't something that, you're gonna just be on fire for 1 month and that's like the rest is history, right? This is a long term thing. Like, I'm doing this for the rest of my life, right? I've done it for about 10 years now, and I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. So it's not a short term thing. You know what I mean? So don't beat yourself up if it's taking time to grow and to learn. Okay. It's not, you're not going to make a ton of money up front. I mean, maybe you'll be the person who books a really nice job that pays you, a couple $1,000s, right off the bat, but that's very unusual, and it's not something that happens every day. So, I would say the last part of all of this, and I've really grown to believe this more and more over the years, join a community somewhere, even if it's not VO Journey Academy. Join somewhere that you feel connected with, that has positive people, a vibrant, participation, that they have your back. They're not just educating you. There's the education you need. You can reach people, you can talk to them. And not just the instructors. We have a bunch of instructors, but we have such an incredible community who is there to help you at any moment you ask a question. And that, I'm telling you guys, that is invaluable. It is so invaluable, especially since we live in our closets, or like I'm in a closet. Well, I call it a closet. The house I have now, I built this space because, I renovated the home. So I was able to build a space when everything was torn out, but it's like a closet. I'm in a closet. We're in booths. We're by ourselves. So, this is something that it is so important to have contact with people who can help you. So that would be my final advice. And that's a lot in 30 some minutes of how to get started and get to your first job. But I think that should get you started and get you on the way. Share this with somebody who's brand new too, if they need it. And as always, don't be afraid to message me. Email me, right? Message me. Go to VOsJourney.com. You can send me a message there, or academyvoices.com. Send me a message there. Although, VO's Journey is where you'd send it. Just do the contacts and, hey, I got a question, or hey, I'd love you to cover this topic on your podcast. But I'm telling you, I've got hundreds of questions here from amazing voice actors to cover, but I'm always open for new ones. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you for listening. As always, you're amazing. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Best of luck in your voiceover career and your journey. And keep listening, because I'm stepping in it and trying to help you not. So, all right, you guys, take it easy. Peace.